Hi guys, I'm Kitch. This is Tim Reeve from Chris Reeve Knives. We're gonna go over some stuff for you guys. Fair warning, I'm kind of a Chris Reeve fanboy, so I'm gonna try to be cool. I'm probably gonna look really nervous, but I'll be all right.
I love it. Yeah, welcome to SHOT 2023. We don't have anything necessarily brand spickety new for the show, but this is the first time touring the Backpacker and Inyoni through SHOT Show. We brought it out at Blade Show in June this last year. So the Backpacker being this knife right here, just a great, it's a 4-inch blade, great little backpack and hunting skinning knife. Micarta handles, and it comes with a Kydex sheath. We just, I like to bite off more than I can chew, and that's definitely been us trying to learn how to make our own Kydex in-house. So that's been a lot of fun. So those are Sierra branded Kydex sheaths. One of the little cool little features with it, this knife is designed that you can take the handles off pretty easily. And you could go full skeleton knives like this. You could wrap paracord, depends. You get a really sleek package, drop in your hunting pack, your backpacking pack. And typically you would design a Kydex sheath to detent off the handles. We wanted to be able to take the handles off and still be able to use the sheath. So here we go, it detents off the blade. So you could run this package right here or the full knife like this. The hardware is actually Umnumzan and Inkosi pivots.
Really?
So they are machined to a few tenths, which is way overkill for tolerances on body screws, but for us we could kind of shop off of the CRK hardware shelf, if you will. So, and then it has at the same time we brought out kind of a sister knife to it, is the Inyoni. Very similar, nice handle that fills your hand, same kind of teardrop hole on the inside, same deal there. And actually on the inside of the handles you can see there's almost a little pocket. I don't know if you could fit fire start in there or not. Really, the idea was we had to do these in 2 operations on the machine. So if we're gonna go belly up, I was like, look, we're gonna do something in there, just take some material out. So I'm thinking about everything that I don't need in my backpack. It's just, I can't get rid of it fast enough. So yeah, and these are large Sebenza pins and screws that hold these on. So if you lose them, you can always pull them off your knife or something like that. So great little knife. And this, we actually brought the Inyoni out about 15 years ago. Had a little bit different shape and look, well, different look. It had more of a teardrop wood, like a Cocobolo handle on there, kind of gills on it. So we took the exact pattern and just applied the Backpacker handle to it. So Chris had designed the Backpacker about 2013 in this configuration, but it was really, he has some customs that are very similar patterns that go back 30, 35 years. So it's kind of a proven design, and at least in his mind. So
super lightweight.
That's what a lot of people were saying. When we first put the first one together, we were passing around, we're is it too light? This is gonna be kind of weird, but we're I don't know what too light is. So.
I think that if you name a knife the Backpacker, it can't be too light.
Right, yeah.
Man, it is super light.
We're trying to put a lot of knife in your hand for a super light package.
Definitely. The sheath is really cool too. I like that it doesn't have the retention on the handle.
There's pros and cons to that. So it doesn't, maybe one of the cons is it doesn't have a throat. So say somebody is trying to have a blind re-insertion, say scout carry or something like that, it might be a little bit harder getting it back in there. Down the road we might play with versions of that sheath that does have some sort of throat to it. We will be playing, we'll have Gefeller case makers be making some leather versions, so that'll be pretty fun. I love leather, so all the weight savings that you get out of it, you're just gonna eat up by having leather, but leather's super cool. So yeah, and then it's standard on the sheath. It's standard 3/4 inch center on center hole spacing, so it's pretty standard on various holsters, sheaths, all that kind of stuff. So all of your standard attachments will be able to work. You can rig this thing up in a bunch of different ways. We're not sending it out at this point with attachments, mainly just because there's so many different attachments. Everybody likes different, has their own way of doing it. So it's not hard to get them out there. There's a bunch of great brands. I'm hoping to be able to kind of get a couple of options on our website. Various, because Blade Tech does the Tech Lock, which is great. If you're running some kind of a shooting belt or something like that, it does offset off of your belt really nicely. We have discrete carry concepts or ulti clip. I mean, there's a bunch of different guys that are making cool stuff. So we'll get into that later, but at least for now, we can keep it pretty lean and mean and sleek, and you can take it from where you want.
I look at something super thin like that. I think ulti clip inside the waistband for sure.
You go in your pocket inside your waistband, on your backpack strap. I usually drop that baby because I always have some Sebenza in my pocket. So, you know, I've got one of each of these that kind of live deep in my hunting bag. I actually have one of these rigged up sideways on the bottom of my fishing like chest rig. You know, with a little pigtail on it, so it doesn't go flying down the river, as I'm notorious for dropping stuff. So these will be shipping in Magnacut, so that'll be nice. We're hardening them up to that 63, 64, just like the folders. So we're like, you know, just backed off of peak toughness, but into kind of like peakish edge retention. You know, it's just such a great little heat treat curve at that point. So that's the scoop on the backpacker Inyoni.
Yeah, man. That's all I got for him. You are awesome at explaining things. I'm not, so I really like him. I really like the bird and trout style of that little Inyoni.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is kind of one of my favorite knives in the catalog right now, and we're hoping to bring out some maybe little sprint runs with some wood handles like we did. Cool. I made a couple for myself in the first runs in the prototyping series. You know, it's like we're cutting the micarta, and I was like, here's a block of Macassar, you know, and cuts them up. So. Yeah, we're looking at that. We've got a couple guys on the staff that have like 6 on order. They're gonna have for like steak knife sets. That's cool. Know, in the kitchen. So
for sure, that's what I think whenever I look at it. I'm like, either that's like a perfect bird and trout knife, or that's a steak knife that I can carry and be fancy with.
100%. For sure. 100%. I actually have one of these without the handles on it, not all finished up, but in my kitchen I've been using, kind of just testing, cutting meats with it, and is using it as kind of a paring knife. I think I did a bunch of wild turkeys up this year, a couple fish, and you know, a bunch of beef and stuff, because I'm not a great hunter. I'm a fill a tag every couple of years type hunter, though I'd love to fill a tag every year. So to really test, it's like, hey, let's just, you know, buy some big roast, buy some meat, and just kind of work through it like that on a more regular basis. We had the privilege, so I don't know if you guys know the backpack outdoor gear company Exo Mountain Gear, but they make high-end hunting backpacks with like titanium tube frames and the load shelf and all that kind of stuff. Super lightweight bags, high quality. Great guys. They're our neighbors in Boise, and so we've gotten to know them really, really well. And so we got a bunch of these Inyonis out to them. And actually, I was talking to Steve, the owner, and I said, hey, I've got 2 knife designs, because he was interested in kind of doing a knife type thing. And I said, well, look, I've got these 2 patterns that are pretty proved out. Which one are you interested in? He really liked the Inyoni. And he's not necessarily looking at it for, you know, bird and fish. He's looking at like mondo size elk, doll sheep, that kind of stuff. So he said, I sent him with a handful of those, and yeah, he cut up a couple big huge elk. He went on a doll sheep hunt up in Alaska. I mean, these guys have really, they did a big massive deer hunt up in Alaska, shot some huge bucks, and they really put them through the paces. I mean, they broke the tips off of them. They did also, so they really helped us like refine the tip geometry a little bit. I think Magnacut's going to help a ton with that.
Definitely, for sure.
A little extra strength in that tip. So, because these were just an S45. S45 is great, cuts really well, has decent toughness, but it's just not what Magnacut is, right? No,
Magnacut toughness is off the charts for stainless steel, and then
it's ridiculous.
Super stainless.
Yeah, and ridiculously stainless, so like that'll be really nice too. You know, we're known for, like, with the big military knives, we run like a VHB gasket. So those, you can take those screws off. Those handles you really have to pry off. And Chris really wanted that because he didn't want a soldier, like in the military setting, to have to like worry about shit getting underneath the handles, right, and getting in there. And so with these, you're just in that environment. So you need them to be able to like disassemble and take apart. So you can take these babies and Scotch-Brite them, you know, or soft scrub them in the sink, whatever. You can send them back to us, and we'll re-sandblast the handles and get them back to, like, say, sanitary. There's even a drain hole at the bottom of the sheath, so you can get a bunch of water and then kind of get them flushed out. So it's like, you know, we've all been elbows deep in a deer and kind of like see the ramifications of that.
Yes, exactly.
So trying to cover the bases there.
Perfect, man. I think that's really cool attention to detail, and I love it personally. That's something that kind of draws me towards the brand anyway. Cool. But stuff like that, and then hearing you talk about it is really cool too, because I think that's a lot of stuff that people don't think about, because not everybody's always elbow deep in deer.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and nor does everybody have to be, you know, and that's what I think these knives will still, I think, scratch the itch for a lot of people that don't shoot big bucks.
Yeah, well, for sure. Like, I mean, if you look at them, like, they're like perfect hiking knives. Even that guy, you know, you touched on the steak knife thing, like,
yeah,
they're perfect for everything. I think that most people get caught up on, especially like hunting knives.
Right.
You look at like most guys, like anybody I've ever been in deer camp with, they have like a gigantic fixed blade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like, have you ever like had to like get into a deer and use your knife?
It can't be done.
I'm like, you can do it, but like you're gonna have to go in sideways and it's gonna be uncomfortable. You're gonna be grabbing like the blade of the knife to do it.
Sure.
So small knife. I use a small knife every year.
Right.
I live in the Midwest. We got big deer. I shoot them all the time.
Yeah.
It's like small knife, big deer. You don't need a big knife.
It's funny because we did our It Cuts Big Bucks shirt, you know, and that was exactly that. It was because like Steve and those guys were like, no, I want this little tiny knife to cut up this massive animal. Now we've seen a movement to that. Like you've seen like the little scalpel blade insert knives, which are sweet, you know, for that case, but it's just, I see that, I'm like, ah, man, it's just not. Is that a knife? You know, no knock on them. It's concepts you gotta have to push, but it's like, man, I was really trying to get a small package that was still useful. You can still hang on to. You know, it doesn't hurt your hand. Like 8 hours in, super cold out. But at the same time, I love, like, I actually got a photo from one of our good customers and dear friends. Him and his brother shot a deer this year, and he sent me a photo with like one of our Pacifics right on top of it. So like, it can be done. It's like,
for sure.
I like to say the best knife is the knife that you have on you. That's really what it is.
It's always funny. My grandpa always has like a big, like, honking, like, Bowie knife, and then I'm like, I got this little guy.
Yeah.
Like, this works good, man. Like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe it's just because we're little, we can't, like, we don't have the muscles to push them all day.
Skinny guys, I'm not lugging that thing around the woods.
I literally cannot. So
it's not happening.
Yeah. So speaking of these guys, kind of moving on from the backpackers and Inyonis, these are the Green Beret knife. We've been making this knife for, I think, going on 22 years. We brought it out in 2001, and not much has changed. We've had maybe like small little iterations. Comes with a nylon sheath, the Kydex insert, where there's actually a felt lining in there. So straps up, you can kind of rig that any which way you want. With the addition of our Kydex sheaths with the backpackers and Inyonis, we have plans to do big Kydex sheaths for these as well.
Awesome.
A little further down the line, but yeah, we're gonna have to do that as another option. A lot of people ask for Kydex sheaths with the bigger military knives, especially as we're trying to keep, like Mitch, my engineer, and I, we try and keep up to speed with like the kit that guys are running these days. You know, it's always kind of changing and morphing, and depending on like the mission and the zone that they're working in. You know, with a lot of like whatever's happening in Europe right now, like we've been getting some interesting feedback of how just knives on kit is starting to change a little bit. So it's interesting. Maybe there's going to be a move. It sounds like there'll be a bit of a move back to kind of bigger knives like this. So I don't know. We'll see what that means. But trying to get these pumped out as much as we can. We've done a little bit of nursing to just the shape of the handle. Not major moves away from any of the concepts here, but just kind of refinement. We've been able to get in and really dial in our modeling with surfacing and kind of get back to some of the really early like versions of these handles that I think were perfect. We played for, in 2017, we brought out like a taper to the blade. There was a distal taper, which Chris had an idea of like a shock, kind of a shock absorption or a fishing rod effect, right? Yeah. So your fishing rod tapers, right? And so like if you're chopping and that impact, it gives a place for that shock to go. So we played with that a little bit, found that it didn't maybe do much for the knife, and so kind of moved back. So this is back to really the original shape of the Green Beret knife or the Yarbrough knife. So very proud to have this. I mean, it's just been a great knife running for quite a long time. We do a version of this that is engraved Yarbrough with a serial number, and that is issued to the graduates of Q course, which is qualification course of the Green Beret School. So it's a huge honor. I've actually had already, this is one of my favorite parts of SHOT Show. I've had 3 different Green Berets, retired guys, come up to me and say, hey, thank you. I took my Yarbrough knife to the front lines, and I said, oh, what year did you graduate? And they'll tell me. And so
that's awesome.
That's just such a huge humbling moment for us. It's like, I always tell them, like, please keep fighting out there, because then it keeps me I can do what I do and I don't have to go fight. So exactly. I like to make you knives so you can do what you know what to do with them.
I like to go out in the woods and not have to fight a war. So keep doing it, please. Thank you.
Exactly. Like, we're willing to fight if we have to, but I let's leave it up to the professionals, and we like to be able to kind of supply the guys with the tools that they need. So I figured I'd touch on that because that was some tweaks that we made a little bit behind the scenes or under the radar. Didn't really talk about them much and just getting them out. There's, you know, not massive news, but little tiny tweaks. These will be, anyone that's been following these knives, they've moved to 4V over the last couple of years to get into that crazy strength, that same
awesome
kind of Magnacut toughness. I think these actually are display models. They're still 4V, but we are starting to ship, I believe, already the green berets in Magnacut. So that's pretty cool. I mean, again, you're same 4V toughness, but again, corrosion resistance not a problem. Not that you know, with coating, it's not that big of a deal. We get great edge retention as well.
It's always awesome to have. Anytime you can marry toughness and corrosion resistance, you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say, well, I don't really care about corrosion resistance. It's like, it might not be a big thing for you, but when it comes to manufacturers, it is a big thing because we sell our knives to many, many different people around the world, and you know, they go to crazy different places. But also, even with this knife, you don't want it, like, say it gets waterlogged overnight, there's nothing you can do about it. You wake up in the morning, the whole edge is rusted. That's the only place on this that will rust, and with 4V, it can do that kind of overnight. You look at 4V sideways, it starts to rust. So Magnacut just kind of solves all those problems. And as a brand and a manufacturer, we get to come back to one steel, and we're just gonna have a differential on our heat treat. So with these, we'll be running that like 60, 62, which is absolute peak toughness for Magnacut, with great edge retention. So it'll be very similar kind of, I think it kind of comes out to a similar like S35 type edge retention.
That's pretty good still.
Which is great,
you can't
right?
beat that.
Especially for a big knife like that. So easy to sharpen back up, but we wanted to pump the skinning knives, the backpacking skinning knives, just up in that kind of folder range. It gives you a little extra edge retention, actually a palpable edge retention. So that's kind of the scoop there. Yeah, and then the last thing to kind of maybe remind some folks and touch on, it's a long time coming. We brought these out just maybe about 1.5 years ago, but we brought out a bunch more SKUs, a bunch more variations in the Sebenza line, especially when it comes to the woods. You could always, in the past, order planes and micarta in drop points, tantos, and insingos, but with the wood inlays, we always kept it to just drop points. So we brought out the glass blasted wood inlay with the tumbled tantos, insingos, and drop points, but still keeping the polished handle, polished blade, drop point only wood inlays, which is like the ultimate gentleman's knife as far as I'm concerned. I think it's just the coolest thing.
I gotta agree. Yeah. I do love the glass blast though. I know it's kind of been talked to death. Yeah. But man, it's like, whenever I first saw that, I was immediately like, I have to have one of these. Like,
it's funny when like little things like that get you, you know. And I'd been playing with it for the last couple of years. Bill Koenig was actually the one that pointed me towards the media, you know. And so for a little bit, for some of these like special editions I was doing for Blade or these shows, I'd like run over to his place real quick and hop on his blaster and blast him, and then run back because I didn't have the media yet. And so we went full Monty into it. Everybody's been liking it. Kind of just doesn't tear up your pocket as much. It really maintains it doesn't patina maybe as fast, but it still gets like a nice little tiny bit of like corner pocket patina. You know?
To me, it just reminds me of like whenever I bought my first Sebenza, it took like a few weeks for it to kind of get smooth. Right. And then I'm like, the break-in period was cool, but also I was wearing blue jeans and it just turned blue the whole time. Right. So I'm like having to like wipe it off all the time. Like, man, why is it turning blue? And like with that, it would probably still turn a little bit blue, but it won't be as bad.
It doesn't really hold it as much, you know? And essentially what we're doing is we're taking that sandblast, that normal sandblast, and then we're hitting this, it's a two-step, so this just goes right on top of it. So we're always gonna keep that normal sandblast. There's plenty of guys that have tried the glass blast and they're like, hey, it's cool, but I like the normal sandblast better. It's great, no big deal. Yeah. I mean, it's a great grippy, you know, and that was a lot of people's fear, is this gonna get too slick? Yeah, it maybe is. It is palpably a little slicker, a little less grippy than the normal sandblast, but it doesn't squirt right out of your hand by any means.
No, it doesn't feel slick to me. It still feels pretty grippy.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody likes the classic, and you guys have been doing that for so long. Yeah. So
it's tough when you're known for doing one thing very well, and so it's like it's hard to break out from it. But you also, I think, we really tried to like do that and more.
Exactly.
You know, not lose the kind of classic approach, and that's why I was very diehard in keeping those polished handle, polished blade, wood inlays. Like, to me, that is the ultimate like gentleman's wood inlay knife. You know, that's how we've done it for ages. But we've been asked many times by the customers, say, hey, I want a blasted wood and I want a tanto blasted wood and stuff. So we brought out that line a little while ago. So it's almost kind of a reminder for people. I mean, a lot of the dealers have been have those on order, so they will be showing up at dealers as well. I know you guys have some on order, so it just takes time for those to start hitting the market. But so any of the fans and customers out there, it's a bit of a matter of time. I mean, you can always order direct with us. You're at the back of the list, but you know, it's always hitting the dealers. Get on this, you know, sign up for emails, all that kind of stuff. Tune into like your closest dealer. But yeah, we're trying to get them out as fast as we can. It's the weirdest thing in the world. We're quoting 2 years lead time this time last year, and we're fully at like 6 years, which is wild. But I don't know, the best way I've kind of been explaining it, because we've been buying a lot of machinery, we've been growing quite a good amount. We're trying to rise to the demand. We'll never meet the demand, but we're trying to rise to the demand. It would tear the company apart if we met the demand.
Yeah, of course.
You know, we could just tear the ligaments of the company apart, but we're never going to do that. We're growing steadily, stably. I mean, fastest we ever have, but we're not going to get over our skis. You know, if and when the economy changes, I don't want to be left, you know, hung out to dry. We've never laid anybody off in the history of our company, and I'm not planning to do that ever in the future. But we do need to make more knives. There's a lot more fun projects in the future. There's a lot more things that we have to do. But yeah, coming around the corner, it's gonna be fun. Like stuff's happening at the shop. So, and come later this year, there'll be some stuff happening with us and GP Knives. So I'm excited for that.
It's really cool too. Obviously, we can't say what it is, but it's like a big deal.
Yeah,
big deal.
Yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good deal. Some of the collectors, I think, will have a heyday with it. So
for sure.
Anyway, that's what we'll say. Come, I think we're hoping like, you know, midsummer into the fall, it'll be something that we'll be looking for. We've been working with GP Knives for quite a long time. You guys have just been awesome to us. Always treat us super well, super sweet. You know, Chris and Jamie are just like the nicest people on planet Earth. You guys are pretty cool too.
Thanks.
But yeah, no, we've worked with you guys for a long time, and Chris has always kind of like checked in and very politely asked, you know, who we do an exclusive, and kind of always kind of to the arm's length. And then I was very happy to be able to be like, hey, look, you know, what about this? And they're like, are you serious? So I think it'll be fun. Excited to happen. So.
Hey man, thanks Tim. It's been awesome talking to you.
Nice to meet you guys, and yeah, it's always a pleasure. So.
Guys, subscribe. Look for more videos from SHOT Show, from us, GP Knives. Starstruck. See ya.
We'll see you guys.